I always talk about how it's more important to find your voice than to find your words.
Mm. Mic drop. That right? It's more important to find your voice than your words because your voice is so much more
Exactly.
than your words.
Exactly. It's like all of you is your voice, right? And so when you're connected to all of that, this part, your own essence, then the words can come through there and they're so much more powerful. But what people really want is is you.
Hi, I'm Leslie Silverman, and I thrive on deep, honest conversations with entrepreneurs about how we show up as the truest version of ourselves, both personally and professionally. Because when we let our light shine, we give others permission to do the same. This is a category of one.
For over 24 years, Paula has worked as a licensed counselor and certified life coach, including 7 years as a coach with the Tony Robbins organization. She works with individuals and groups to help them create lives that feel deeply meaningful, fulfilling, and aligned with what truly matters to them. Through her signature program, Soul Speaks, Paula helps people shed their invisibility cloaks. She guides them to transcend the fears that keep their voices small, allowing them to speak from the heart with authenticity and confidence on stage and in life. A speaker herself, Paula was a 2023 finalist in North America's Next Greatest Speaker contest, sponsored by the eWomen Network. She's also an actress and singer. Her one woman show, Collecting Myself, a soulful exploration of how the path you've lived reveals your purpose, played to sold out audiences last spring. Here is my conversation with Paula. Hey, Paula, thanks for coming on today.
Hey, Leslie, so happy to be here.
Paula Friedland, as you heard from her robust introduction, is so aligned for a category of one. She uses the language helping people to connect and speak from the heart with authenticity and confidence. Let's just start with talking about Soul Speaks and what that idea was born from and how you support people. I love how you said on stage and in life, which to
Yes.
me reflects what we talk about here, showing up as the same person personally and professionally because we
Yeah,
can't separate it.
absolutely. And that's what's interesting about how what I discovered when I started doing this. So it I've been teaching this in some capacity for almost 20 years, and it started off as there's a guy in San Rafael, California, named Lee Glickstein, who created this thing, speaking circles. And he was a stand-up comedian with stage fright, kind of a problem. So he created this sort of a grassroots approach to getting over the fear of public speaking in a natural way. And I discovered this and I thought it was fantastic. And so I got certified under him. And then I put my own spin on it and kind of deepened the process and called it Soul Speaks. And so fundamentally, it's about getting over the fear of or anxiety around public speaking. But it's so much more than that. Like you said, with the work that you do and this podcast, it's about how it affects your whole life. So it's not just on a stage, it's in every area of your life. And this is what I discovered as I taught this more and more, people were having deeper, better conversations with people in their life that they'd never had before, courageous kinds of conversations. And certainly on stages or wherever they were speaking, they they became more really more authentic, confident speakers. So even uh, the hardest people that to teach this to or have them embrace it are people that are actually speakers that have been used to speaking. their whole life or however long, and they're comfortable and everything. But a lot of times they don't want to let go of the kind of performative or presentational kind of talking, their shtick. And with Soul Speaks, it's about letting all of that go and taking everything off of you that is not you. All the techniques, all the 10 tips toward becoming a better speaker, and getting rid of all of that and starting with just being with one person at a time when you're talking. Always one person and only one person. So you're never even talking to a group. You're just having a series of one-on-one conversations. And then you get this practice of letting the words come from here versus thinking about what you're going to say. So in every conversation or stage or business in a meeting or whatever it might be, allowing your voice to come through you, even if it's scary, and how to be fully yourself. I was listening to some of your session with Rachel Johnson
Yes.
and listening to kind of her story and this whole thing that is so much your thing about doing your own thing rather than this is the way we do it in our industry. So that's the reason to not do it like that. I just love that and what you stand for. And it's so aligned with, like you said, Soul Speaks.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you bring up that concept of part of your training methodology is having the speaker channel as if they're just connecting with one person. Because Rachel, as you were sharing that, I'm thinking to myself, that's how Rachel has taught. She's a copywriter who also specializes in email marketing. And she has this like 10 steps to successful email marketing. And in that, she says, pick one person and behave as if you are writing that email content
Oh,
to one person. And so I love that through line that you think about talking to one person. And it's true. I've sat through speaker trainings where they tell you what intonation to use in your voice, like start high and go
yeah,
low, and you get so in your head about and where to position your shoulders and where to put your feet and all of those things that you do lose the heartfelt the soul speak portion of it. And so but
exactly.
yours is a multi-day experience where you build that trust muscle over the course of a couple days. Is that right?
Yeah, I have different kinds of offerings. Some are 3 days. I just finished co-facilitating a two day one that I combine my stuff with Jill Coyte's stuff, which is about being courageously yourself. It was called the Courageous Voice Experience. But I also uh, the foundational experience is like a 3.5 hour session where you learn the basics and then you add on to that and you end up doing turns in front of the small group and in 3.5 hours it can be transformational. So this isn't something that take a year-long program. It isn't that. You certainly condition it and get a more um, get it more solidified in yourself if you do it for longer. I have a lot of people who've been coming for years and years because they just love the practice of it. They call themselves Soul Speaks junkies. So it benefits them, but you can get such a transformational experience in just a couple of hours doing this.
That's so cool. Do you offer that remotely or only in person in the Denver area?
That's a good question. It really is an experiential thing. So it's always been in person. However, as we speak, I've had so many people ask for an online version, either because of the convenience or they don't live in the area or, whatever it is. And I think I'm looking at creating something that I can give people an online experience of it. And then if they can come to the in-person, it's gonna be even better. But it's needed because we're so much in the virtual space. Right.
Yeah, yeah. So you have a background as a social worker and a coach, and also as an actress. So share with me how those two, they seem so intertwined. It's like those two had a baby and it is Soul Speaks. Bringing together your experiences as an actress, and you have a one woman show and you're a singer, and then the therapeutic lens.
Yeah. It is a it is an interesting combination. When I lived in New York and did all that for, I think, 13 years, and pursued musical theater mostly, and it was fantastic. But then it got the experience after a while, the city and the industry, it's really brutal. And so, in thinking about, well, this is all I've ever done, what I've loved, but what else could I do? And I was in therapy at the time, and I'm in a session starting to talk about what else I can do. And as she's talking to me and listening, I'm like, I could do that. Like the counseling thing, I could really see myself doing that. I feel like I've always been kind of a coach and a counselor to people in my life, whether they ask for it or not. That was another thing, but that I was, really good listener. And as an actor, you have to be a really good listener to, the person you're playing opposite. Because if you're going to do 8 shows a week for 3 years, it has to be fresh every night. And so if I'm doing a scene with you, you got up on the wrong side of the bed, you're going to say that your line slightly differently today than you did yesterday. And if I'm really listening, I'll respond authentically to what I'm hearing. And so I'm different. So every night you're different. And so uh, the therapy thing seemed like a natural transition to listening. And I've been on a spiritual path a long time, and uh, my own growth and development and all of that. So that all combined together to become a counselor. But I didn't really have the desire to work with the severely mentally ill or drug addicts or certain populations. I wanted to work with people that were high functioning but wanted more in their lives. And that's where coaching came in. That's what coaching is. So combining being a therapist and a coach, I call myself a coachapist. Uh, I can kind of do both the deepening. I was a Tony Robbins coach too, and how did he say that? That you're always deepening the learning about yourself and your patterns or whatever, and forwarding the action. So that's
Mm,
the combination of coaching and counseling. And then the other piece is around self-expression, and that's Soul Speaks is about, I say that I am creating a movement for deeper, greater, uh, more authentic self-expression. Uh, and so the expression piece is what we are all creative, and what do you want to express? And that's where the one woman show came in. It's autobiographical, and being able to express certain things that you've gone through, and having a witness to those.
mm.
That's the short answer. There's a lot more, but
I love it. I love it so much. And uh, I feel like what you were describing, what I would put words to is growth mindset. Growth mindset is probably my number one
oh,
characteristic that I embody and feel attracted to in my romantic partner, in my
oh,
friendships, in my
oh,
clients. And to me, growth mindset means wanting to evolve and take aligned action and improve and constantly have that pulling in that yoga phrase of beginner's mind. How can we be playful or open minded or wanting that? I think you used the words moving forward component, because I would imagine as a more traditional therapist who is not invited to have an opinion, but more be the listener and the witnesser and that and the reflector, the mirror. And I would have a hard time not having a opinion or being like, get your crap together. And so I feel like as the coach hat, you get more people who have that growth mindset and that desire for evolution.
Absolutely. I think people don't necessarily talk about this enough because you're so right. I remember in my 20s when I first had a therapist, and I I was with a couple therapists at first that were like that. They just sit there, and I wanted to discuss and learn, and so you're absolutely right. And there are therapists, of course, who do more disclosure, but it's not it as a coach, there's more sort of permission to use your own experience and your own learning and growth and sharing that with a client. I mean, within some boundaries, right? You're not going to bear everything to them, but why wouldn't I want to use my own experience to share with someone else, or rather than just sitting there and going, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm a huge fan of talk therapy and
Mhm.
oh, how did that make you feel? I mean, I have a therapist who is she's a hypnotherapist. And so she also brings in a lot of somatic work.
Mm.
So sometimes we'll do a deep meditation, which is really what the hypnosis is, where she'll have me go within to kind of channel my own solutions. But sometimes we talk, sometimes she's had me do tapping or other nervous system work if I'm kind of worked up or out of body and she wants to help me calm. And I love the somatic part of that. Is there any like do you do any breath work
Mm.
or any does Soul Speak have any somatic relaxation mixed into that
Yeah,
experience?
I so agree with you that I mean, we can't like let's just divorce our body from everything. It's kind of ridiculous, and I mean, certainly we know with trauma goes into the body, right? So you can't just talk your way out of trauma or a challenge or whatever. In Soul Speaks, we don't necessarily do body work per se, but the breath is an integral part. So, as an example, when you come up and do your turn in front of the group, the first thing that's imperative is you take a landing breath. And the difference is it's with your eyes open while you're looking at one person. So we don't go inside. I understand the tendency to do that so we can settle ourselves, but Soul Speaks is about being out here. And so it might be a vulnerable thing to take a breath while you're looking at somebody, but there's a corrective part of that experience where you breathe together, and it's always so interesting to watch the whole group. The whole group ends up breathing with you. They weren't instructed to do that. They're feeling it too. So by the end of the session, you all have breathed so much uh, that you've all sort of been able to land. And then at the end of the turn, it's the same thing. We clap for that person and they wait till all the clapping is finished. And then their closing breath. And yeah, there's like a period at the end of the sentence rather than they finish what they're saying and they run back to their seat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a collective energetic too when you share space with people like that and you share breath and all of those elements, you have a bond and you connect on that deeper level. It's the
Yeah.
same thing as, I mean, they say even like when a child will attune to their mother's heartbeat when you hold them, or that's the same thing as when you share space with somebody who feels calm and regulated, that helps you feel that way. So I can imagine that that is a huge part of the in person collective energetic reward of being in the room for that experience.
100%.
Yeah.
And another piece that, as you're talking about this, that that comes up is that an integral part of the whole Soul Speaks experience is after the person takes their turn, we do these things called showers of appreciation. And the people in the audience just call out words that they get from the person's essence. And it's not some airy fairy word, it's about who you are. And so the instruction is you're not even allowed to say anything about the person's content. The content at this point is incidental. So
Mm,
in the audience, the instruction is you push the mute button or turn the volume down on what the person said, and you will get their essence. And so we call out these words like wise and caring and spunky and, rich and, all these different words that people are getting from the person's essence. And I write these words down and later I give them the card or the book that has all of those essences in it. And sometimes this is the hardest part for people is to stand up there and receive
mm,
these reflections. And it stretches their capacity to be able to own their own beauty and value. And so that's another way that bond happens. We end up kind of falling in love with everybody because we see their essence reflect that back. We hear their story, we see their vulnerability, and then we get up there and do the same thing. I can't even describe how transformational it is. And it's so hard to describe because we're not doing anything. It's all a being experience and being with what's there. And
uh,
it's transformational
I
for
can't
me.
wait to experience it. You and I met just after the most recent Soul Speaks experience. So I have yet to attend, but I am so excited to join and have that experience. And I think one thing that I teach my young adult, I have daughters in their 20s, and one thing I reflect to them is that whole concept of self love and
Mhm.
self talk. And it is hard for us, and I don't know if it's society or where we lost the ability to receive in that
Mm.
way, but to hear other people say those types of strengthening, reassuring things about ourselves is challenging. But the gift in the receiving, as wonderful as it feels for us, it's also a gift for the giver, right? So
Yes.
I think speaking to ourselves the way we would speak to someone that we love. You are the love of your life. How can you speak to yourself like you would your most beloved? Because we're so hard on ourselves, and then receive that sounds like a tremendous gift and must feel so good for the giver to share those feelings with the person.
Absolutely. It's like the 2-day workshop I just did, we were kind of behind on our schedule. And one of the turns we were going to do the showers of appreciation afterward. And we said, well, we don't really have time. But after the first person went, we couldn't not do it because you could feel it and we felt it ourselves. You're dying to be able to reflect to the person what you got about them. And it's even hard to find the words because each person is so unique. But because of what you said, like that self-critic that talks yourself out of it. Oh, I'm not that smart or I'm not that wise or funny or whatever. You can't dispute it because when you throw out the showers of appreciation to someone else, you're not lying. You're not making it up. You're
Right.
really, truly getting it from their essence. So then you'd be a hypocrite if you said, well, it can't be true for me that I'm all those things. You have to
Right.
accept it. So
Right.
it's very, very interesting process, that receiving piece.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what was this award for the North America's Next
Mm.
Greatest Speaker? That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it was. it was through the eWomen network. If you know them, it's one of the women's networking groups that's national and I think maybe even in Canada, so international in some way. And it was the first year they did this contest, and they had a they had a contest in Denver, and 10 people that were chosen did their talk in front of the group, 3 minutes, which is hard to do something substantial in 3 minutes. And then there was a contest in Dallas and also Orange County, and of each of the 10 people, they came down to the 3 finalists in each, and then those 9 people went and competed, w in the full contest in Dallas at the year-long conference, the annual conference in Dallas, and so I made it to that, went to Dallas, competed with those 10 people, and then made it to the finals, which there were three people in the finals of all of it, and yeah. So then I came in third, uh, and it was really amazing because I am also a speaker, which brings in the performer, of course, but also that growth mindset part and wanting to impact people and help them know the value of their own voices. That's one of my own big missions, and so it combines the speaking thing combines all of that, but I haven't done that's been on the back burner. I would love to be speaking more. I know you're in the same boat, uh, speaking more, but then it's like, as you see, I wear a lot of hats, so I'm trying to find the place where I get the chance to speak more because it's really fun and you can impact a lot of people that way as well.
Absolutely. And is your favorite topic to speak about the Soul Speaks mission and being clear in your voice and authenticity on stage? Is that kind of the core of your
Yeah, I
keynote?
think it is. I always talk about how uh, it's more important to find your voice than to find your words.
Mm. Mic drop. That right? It's more important to find your voice than your words because your voice is so much more
Exactly.
than your words.
Exactly. It's like all of you is your voice, right? And so when you're connected to all of that, this part, your own essence, then the words can come through there and they're so much more powerful. So many people do it the opposite way. Well, I need to write a speech. I need to be talking about my business. So, what should I write about? And then they write all their words down and then they memorize the script. And I understand why people do this, especially people that are nervous speaking. But what people really want is you. It's they want a combination of vulnerability and expertise. And so, but the vulnerability has to come first so they relate to you. Then they'll hear everything that you want to tell them. But we do it the opposite way. We should get in touch with our own voice first and then write the content. Let
Mm.
it come through you versus coming from your head.
I try to use that approach a lot with my brand strategy clients.
Mm,
And I try to explain that their brand is not a logo and topography and a color palette. It is their voice. It is their positioning. And so I do a video interview with every client first, and they
mm,
always say, "Well, what can I prepare or what are the questions?" And I say, "No, I just want you to show up. I'm going to ask you questions. You're going to speak freely from the heart. It's just you and me so that I can truly understand your business, your goals, what lights you up, what you're
mm,
passionate about." And we talk about some practical things, but I ask, who's your favorite client? But I also ask, who's your most profitable client? Those are not necessarily the same
Interesting.
thing. You might love this client, and we can figure out why, peel back the layers. What about that did you love? And how can we then say, okay, how can we align that with profitability and what lights you up? And so I always potential clients that aren't open to that strategy session aren't a fit for what we do, because that gives me everything to help them stand apart in their industry and be their own category of one, which is the whole place that this podcast was
Mm,
born from, was these types of calls that I have with my clients. And every architect has beautiful photos, or every person in a certain specific industry has these boxes they may check, but we're all an individual. So how can I help you tell your story in a way that you stand out from everybody else in the space? And then there is no competition.
mm.
You literally are a category of one because you are you and there is no other you. And so that is very similar to finding your voice, not worrying as much about the words. I love that
I
parallel.
love it. It's so parallel. It's it's their essence that
Yeah.
you're wanting to get, plus some other things for
Yeah.
specifically the branding piece. But yeah, and I think it's great that that people that won't do that are not your your clients, right? Because
Takes time to get to that boundary place. I have a business partner in my branding and web development company, and we were laughing this morning about, wow, we used to never say no to any work.
oh,
Someone
right,
was like,
yeah.
"I need a business card." We were like, "Okay." Someone was like, "I need this one tiny 20-minute graphic design thing." And we were like, "Okay." And then 10 years later, we have learned what our zone
Mm,
of genius is, and what we love so much is when we can be a partner, not a vendor. When we can help
mm.
people create that voice and positioning, rather than just do it, check in the box and doing a task. Uh, so you have another offering that I think might be newer. You're doing some intimate networking salons locally.
Yeah, it is new. I've done 2 of these so far, but it's a vision I've had for a long time, and it's called a Soul Speaks Salon. And the vision came from going to networking groups and them being so formulaic. The intention is good to have people connect and learn about each other's businesses and to get business, but that's almost like the starting with your words versus who you are, right? The opposite. And I got so I don't know, bored in these networking groups. You'd have a circle of women, a bunch of circles of women, and you're supposed to answer these 4 questions, what's going well in your business right now? And what was the best thing that happened this last year? And, you know, and I'd be in those circles and nobody's listening to each other. They're either thinking about what they're going to say, or they're trying to focus, or they're thinking about lunch, or and I would talk to other women, and so many of them would say, I don't really get a lot of business here, but I love the women. I love to connect. I'm too isolated. I love coming and just connecting. And so that was my vision, to do a networking type group like that, but with the Soul Speaks approach, which is when you're going around that circle, take a landing breath, and then you share whatever's there. It might even be, I'm really nervous right now to even talk about myself, but I'm here because I want to connect, right? That just off the top of my head, right? And so people connecting on a deeper level to begin with, based on who they are. And then the business thing can come from there, because somebody then wants, they meet Leslie, they hear your story and see your essence, and then they want to really know more about your business. versus just talking about your business and here's my business card. It doesn't work that way. So I also know people are looking to connect personally right now, with everything going on in the world and so much isolation, so much virtual stuff. And so that was the other thing. And so I'm trying to figure out what this thing wants to be. So far, reflected by the women that have come, they want it to be more personally based than business based. And so these are just intimate groups. So far, I've had them in my home. I have a vision of expanding. I can't have 30 people in my home and do this probably, but where people just go around and they share something important and maybe they draw a question and they speak about that. And we do the soul speaks kind of rules. And it's a way of people being able to come from a deeper, more connected place with people they may not even know. So,
That's yes, I resonate deeply with that. I have started something similar and we will invite each other to ours,
absolutely.
where what I've done thus far, and I've only done it 2 so far with more coming, is I've partnered with one super aligned woman
Mm,
who we have those types of vulnerable, open conversations. And we've intentionally chosen, she's invited 4 people and I've invited four
mm,
people with the intention of it being people the other one might not know. And
mm,
when we come together, I always start and introduce the group to, this is a space to share whatever you feel most comfortable sharing. You don't have to get really vulnerable if that doesn't feel safe, but whatever you feel like saying, we're just here for deep connection. We're
mm.
not here to quote unquote be networky or businessy. We're just here to share. And when we build meaningful relationships, that is when we do grow professionally. And I couldn't agree with you more about the transactional. You can tell
Yeah,
those salesy people who are just trying to put the business hat on and not be heartfelt, and that never works. I have a one great example that comes to mind, a woman that I did meet in a networking room, and her and I just became fast friends.
mm,
We just had great energy and had a wonderful conversation, and she had just built her new brand, her new business, everything I do in my branding agency, she already had. I didn't look at her as a potential client. I just liked her as a person. We ended up getting together one on one after that event. And within less than a month of knowing her, she referred me to her husband, who ended up hiring me for everything that I do. Right. So instead of looking at
yeah,
everyone as a potential client,
right.
if we are aligned in just being attracted to who we're attracted to connect with and getting to know authentically, it always comes back to us in ways that we weren't forcing.
I love that. It's music to my ears. Yeah, very, very similar. And it starts with that connection. And women, I mean, men too, but women are generally relational based, right? This is how we feel safe, how we can express ourselves more. The connection is key. It's not some incidental thing that might happen. So I love that. I think that's exactly the same kind of mission.
Yes, yes. Well, Paula, for our listeners, we're going to put it all in the show notes, but what is the number one best place to find you, connect with you for people, whether they're local or not, and want to learn more about your offerings?
Mhm. Yeah, thanks for that. I mean, first of all, my website, and you can read more about the various offerings that I do there. Uh, and so that's Soul Speaks, plural, soulspeaks.biz. Uh, and so that'd be the first place. And then just on social media, on Facebook, just my name, Paula. I think I'm under Paula Jane Friedland, Jayne. You'll recognize the hair, uh, and LinkedIn also. Those are
Great.
great
And we'll
places.
put all of those links below. Thank you for showing up with your whole heart and soul today and having this conversation with me. It's been such a pleasure.
Oh, same here, Leslie. Thanks for having me. And I just love what you're doing. I love the name, Category of One. I love that principle that you don't want to just be like everyone else. It just so speaks my language too. And of course, our the curly haired bond makes a
Curly
difference.
girls.
So thank you
Thank
so much.
thank you.
This has been a Category of One podcast. If this resonated with you, please share, subscribe, or leave a review. I appreciate you.